Hey guys, it's Nick. So this is going to be a part 2 to today's video because the video was getting really long and this is just kind of less important stuff that doesn't really matter, but I just still wanted to kind of include in there. So yeah, enjoy part 2. After episode 8, I'm not fully sure anymore if the neighbors are actually the Salem 7, because during the scene where Wanda after she leaves the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility and she's coming into Westview, she's driving through the town and we see a few of the neighbors. We see Mrs. Hart, drinking a coffee. We see Herb just crossing the street. Phil Jones is putting up a poster for piano lessons. And Herb is kind of just walking across the street. So it seems like they were already there and they're just random victims of the hex, but let's see. Because then somebody who was not shown, somebody who did not appear in that scene, was Dottie. And I have a lot of theories on Dottie, so I'll get back to that in a sec. Because Senor Scratchy, or Senor Scratchy, because ew, Nicholas Scratch, I was thinking, what if Agatha's pet rabbit is actually her son? What if at some point they've had some sort of fight, and let's say here, since Agatha's bad, maybe Nicholas Scratch is good, and she defeated him, turned him into a rabbit. How crazy would that be? From what we've seen from her, I wouldn't put it past her. Now, when Agatha first reveals herself to Wanda as Agatha, or introduces herself to Wanda as Agatha, she says, "You didn't think you were the only magical girl in town, did you?" Obviously, this is specifically talking about Agatha herself, or it's specifically trying to make us think that it's just Agatha talking about herself. But what if there's more? I have a few theories on Dottie, especially since she seemed to be such a crucial part of the neighborhood in the first few episodes, and then just went MIA for 6 episodes until episode 7, when she appeared for all of 2 seconds during Monica and Wanda's little altercation outside. But so Agatha specifically called Dottie the key to everything in this town. Then during the planning committee, after Dottie said the devil's in the details, Agatha commented, "That's not the only place he is." Now, this could just be Agatha, making little comments, inside jokes with herself, or it could be saying that there's something more to Dottie. I saw a side-by-side on Instagram of Dottie and Clea, who's, she's a character from the comics. She's the niece of Dormammu, the one-time wife of Stephen Strange, and the sorceress supreme of the Dark Dimension. And she's, I think she's more powerful than Doctor Strange because she's taken down some people who Strange hasn't even been able to defeat, And so the images, they looked very similar. It was just, they're both white. They had kind of similar hairstyles, and that was pretty much it. But that would be a really interesting thing to do, especially then if you look at the devil's in the details, that line, and then that's not the only place he is. Dormammu's kind of seen as, because Mephisto's, the devil. But Dormammu can kind of be seen in a very similar light since he rules over this dimension of dark matter. So that could somehow correlate. Doctor Strange is really slacking on this whole protecting your reality thing, as he told Iron Man, because he's over here living it up in New York, down the street from New Jersey. There's no way he doesn't sense this wall of magic surrounding an entire town, and there's no way he can't see it, because we've already seen, especially now that when Wanda went back in after throwing that drone out, she made it solid, or at the very least you can see it. So there's no way nobody's seeing this. So Doctor Strange's probably off taking a nap, taking a sweet time to figure himself out, But he needs to get himself together. Dottie could also, back to Dottie, she could also be Holly, a woman from the 1985 run of Vision and the Scarlet Witch, who was being trained in, who Wanda was training in magic. Now, like, you know, she didn't, I don't think she really had she was like a big thing in the comics. Like, she was, from what I've read so far, she was kind of just in this run, and like that was kind of it. She wasn't really very powerful. She just could do small little things. But it would be a nice nod if she is in fact Holly, because Holly was first introduced in a Halloween episode, and then, or in a Halloween comic, and then WandaVision had a Halloween episode. So it could just be, you know, two completely random things, but you never know. Some people have even been saying that Dottie could be the mutant Emma Frost, which I think that'd be crazy. That would be so random, just bringing in, you know, like this random person, this random mutant, like we've never seen mutants before, and then all of a sudden, like, all this is happening, and then Emma Frost pops up. Like, I think it would be too crazy of a situation. Like, I doubt they would ever do something like that. But you never know with Marvel. And, like, the theories have been saying that Emma Frost is using her own magic to amplify, or her own telepathic powers to amplify what Wanda is doing on a wider level, so she can actually control all the people in Westview. Because from what we've seen, other than when Wanda in Age of Ultron, like when they're trying to get everybody off of Sokovia right before it crashes, she's using her powers to like get everybody to get off the island. But you see her power, like her power is actually coming out of her, and she's like concentrating and everything. Here she's not really doing that. She's, as Agatha says, this is magic on autopilot. So I doubt that would so I don't know, like that would just be really weird for it to be Emma Frost. But it's a pretty interesting theory though. I saw a rumor about the book from episode 7 being the Darkhold, which, like, I fully doubt, because one, the book looks completely different. This book looks a lot like the ones that the ancient one had in her thing that she was telling, like, Strange, like, you can't look at these. But people have been saying that it could be the Darkhold, but the Darkhold, I'm gonna restart. I saw a rumor about the book from episode 7 being the Darkhold. But, like, I highly doubt this because, one, the book looks completely different. This one looks more like the books that the ancient one had, that she wasn't allowing Strange to use. And the Darkhold literally says Darkhold in big letters on the front. So, like, I doubt it's the same book. But, and it would also be too much, like, workaround to explain because Kevin Feige has already said, or he had said before, that all the Marvel shows, including Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., were no longer part of the same continuity. They were not part of the MCU. But they would still, if they were to bring in this book, because the Darkhold was also brought up in Doctor Strange. So if they were to bring in this book, they would have to explain how Agatha got it. And that would be way too much workaround, because from what we saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the only person who can find that book and bring it back is the Ghostwriter, or Robbie Reyes, who I would love to see again because he was amazing. And fun fact, he was actually supposed to get his own show, but they couldn't get the budget for it because of how much like CGI would have to go into editing his head. So, just a fun fact. But, so yeah, so something that would make sense though with maybe this being the Darkhold, or at least like Agatha having the Darkhold, would be that she could be doing what the Ancient One had been doing all along in order to not stay young, but stay looking young. She could be using the book to siphon energy from the dark dimension into herself in order to make herself stronger, make her magic stronger, or just like the Ancient One, keep herself looking young. Because now just from in the show itself, we know she's been around since at least 1693. So we know how old she is. She's a couple hundred years old. So she's doing something to keep young. So this could work with that. But I feel like she could maybe even do this with like any random tome. But then something else that wouldn't make sense about this being the Darkhold, unless she is simply being cautious, is if this was in fact the Darkhold, Agatha wouldn't have to capture Wanda in order to find out how she did this, because the Darkhold in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is said to have infinite knowledge. Anybody who reads it, if you just open it and catch a glimpse at it, you learn all the secrets of the universe. That's pretty much what the Darkhold does, and all the people who read it went crazy. All the people who read it went crazy. You'll just have to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to know why I'm specifically saying people. But season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. revolved a lot around the Darkhold and something that was called the Framework, which is basically just like this super sophisticated virtual reality world where anybody who was plugged in essentially had one regret erased from their lives. And this one regret basically drastically changed their entire lives. It's a great season. It's a great storyline. It has a lot of ramifications for the rest of the show. But in this, I think something that Framework Coulson, or like the Phil Coulson, who, if y'all have seen all the other MCU movies, you know who Phil Coulson is. He died in the first Avengers and was like kept popping up randomly in some of the other movies. But the version of him in the Framework tells Daisy Johnson about a blue soap that Hydra uses in order to implant false memories in the people and basically keep them docile and keep them from questioning authority. Daisy points out that this could just be him having memories or like thinking back to Project Tahiti, which is way too much to go into right now, but basically it's how Coulson is alive again, or was alive again at that time. I think this blue soap could be the same soap in that Hydra soak ad. Then another connection to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would be the hula doll in the funnel cake truck. So when Darcy and Vision are trying to leave the circus area, there's a little hula doll on the funnel cake truck, like right in and that's where the keys are held. This again could also be a nod to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because Daisy, when we're first introduced to her, she has, and before she goes by the name Daisy, has a hula doll in her van. And then later on in the series, we find out that her long lost father also has a hula doll in his office. So that would be such a perfect little thing, because then there are also rumors that both Coulson and Wanda and Daisy will be reprising their roles. People are saying it's probably going to be in Secret Invasion, just because that's going to have to do with the Skrulls. And on top of that, Nick Fury, or Samuel L. Jackson, is going to be back, and he's going to head run the show. And him and Coulson had a very close, I wouldn't say close relationship. I feel like nobody really has a close relationship with Nick Fury. But Phil was one of the only people that Fury ever trusted. So it could be an interesting way to connect these two shows and maybe even give us some Quake in the MCU, because I need to see her on the big screen. But thanks for watching, guys. Drop a like and subscribe and follow me at baby_48 and have a great rest of your day. Bye.